Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you BlitzHerz, the podcast where Steelers football is unfiltered.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Everything I do it good. Yeah, last night when I pulled up the light, that's her. Remember my town.
Roethlisberger has time, goes to the back of the end zone, and it is touchdown.
Black stripe, yellow paint.
They can pick down here from the gun. Steelers show blitz. Here they come. He gets it away, and it's picked off at the goal.
Shake, sway inside, my engine roaring.
Fires, intercepted, picked off at a pick six. Minka Fitzpatrick is an absolute bull.
But there's nothing you could tell them.
Picked off Polamalu.
Push to start. Yeah. You know what it is. Everything I do it good. Yeah. Last night when I pulled up the light. Last night I'm in town. Big it on my head. I'm going down from my lips to my diamonds. I'm in yellow, yellow.
All right, welcome to BlitzHerz podcast with your host, May Shayla, and my very special guest, Mr. Bryant McFadden, two-time Super Bowl champion, 2005, second round, number 62 overall pick. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's an honor. It's honestly an honor. You know, you actually the first ever Steeler athlete I had on a podcast. So once again, thank you for joining me.
No problem.
You know, it's time to get to business here because we obviously have a lot to talk about within this team. This team, without question, I think from many people's perspectives, exceeded expectations of last season. From transforming to or transitioning, in other words, to from Ben Roethlisberger to rookie quarterback Kenny Pickett. I needs to know as a fan and from a commentator standpoint, what are your thoughts on the Steelers offseason and on the team heading into both the NFL draft, which is less than a week away, and the 2023 season?
Well, I think so far this offseason in regards to free agency being, around, I think Omar Khan has done a fantastic job bringing in experienced vets that have really been productive in their career, filling big time needs on both sides of the football. You look at what he's done offensive line wise, especially in the interior positions, big time slam dunk signings for me. Then you look at defensively, bringing in Patrick Peterson, bringing in Keanu Neal from a first rounder as well. Just most recently traded for Allen Robinson, which was a huge deal because you only swap 7th round draft picks with the Rams, but the Rams are eating more than half of his salary.
Exactly. And we're going to get into that.
So, if you can get, I'm not expecting to see the peak prime Allen Robinson, but if you can get a guy that could be an experienced contributor for our young quarterback. So there's been a lot of signings, but those are the guys, that just came right off the top of my mind. But so far, I like what I've seen. And when you talk about the draft, having 3 picks in the first 2 rounds is huge. 17, 32. And I think the second rounder is like 40 something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 49.
So we got an opportunity to either stay put or get a little fancy and move up, or move some picks around. But I'm expecting a big time successful draft as well, because so far off season wise, I think we hit on things that we needed to hit on.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was actually shocked when they went for Patrick Peterson because I was pretty bummed that day when Cam Sutton walked, because that's somebody I did not expect to leave. Edmonds, I was hoping they could work something out, but expect the unexpected with that. But Cam Sutton, I really thought was going to be able to retire here in black and gold, because he just has it in him to wear a Steeler uniform. And you got to be that dude, especially you, who's in part of one of the most iconic defenses ever would know this better than I would, but you just got to have it to be in part of the Steelers organization. And it really means a lot, especially when you are a defensive player, because this organization, you don't think about this organization like that if you don't think about defense. From the
No
steel
question.
curtain, the men of steel, from what you're a part of, to the defense we got today. And, things like that. So on the team's current state, where would you rank them right now in the AFC North division?
I mean, with the uncertainty with the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, will he be in a Ravens uniform this year? We don't know. So based on what we see, how we see it right now, I'll put Pittsburgh Steelers number 2 in the division,
Wow.
right behind Cincinnati. Clearly, it's Cincinnati's division to lose. They're the team to beat. They're the team that everybody else is chasing. But in regards to the Baltimore Ravens, they're not the same team without Lamar Jackson. It's safe to say. Cleveland, they're still kind of trying to figure things out. I think Deshaun Watson would be better than what we saw last year, with the hiatus he had of being away from the game. But you don't know with that organization as well. So if I had to give a ranking right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I put them number 2.
Yeah, I'm actually glad we actually can get into that, because there is one little tweet that really caught my eye. I just felt like this was just a lot of audacity. So I just have to bring this up here,
Mm-hmm.
because this was a tweet by former Bengal player Chad Ochocinco here, who had some pretty critical comments about the current phase or the current stage of the AFC North team compared to the Bengals, where
Mm-hmm.
and this is his own Twitter, so I'm not making this up to anyone who wants to know. With all due respect to the other 3 teams that made roster improvements this offseason, there's still nothing any of them can do, even with the draft coming up, that can put them in contention to win the AFC North. Hashtag respectfully, and put the tiger emoji. What are your thoughts when you see that tweet? Do you feel like he went too far? Do you feel like, it was kind of disrespectful to the other 3 teams in the AFC North division? Do you feel like he should be this confident with the Bengals, by the way, splitting with the entire division last season, with everyone practically in a reload and rebuilding phase, or still trying to find their identity?
I mean, I know he's showing his bias, and that's okay, because I'm biased when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers sometimes, with particular topics. But I get his point. I see where he's coming from, because they have the best quarterback in the division, right?
For right now, yeah.
For right now, Joe Burrow is one of the top quarterbacks, not just in the AFC North, but in the entire NFL. Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in the league right now. You know what I mean? So you like their chances, because when you have a quarterback, you have more than a fighting chance. If you don't have a quarterback, consistency at that position is going to struggle to win ball games. But anything can happen. It's a long season. And I could talk about how good Joe Burrow has been, but it's something about when he play against AFC North opponents, he's not at his best.
Guy.
Exactly. He's not at his best. You talked about last year. We split the series with them. And who knows what would have happened the second game if we were extremely healthy. Remember, week 1 in Cincinnati, we were healthy. Everybody was in uniform, and defensively, they harassed. They made life miserable for Joe. TJ Watt alone has been a nightmare for Joe Burrow. So
it has been. And the thing,
I get what he's saying, but no, you can't. As we see it right now, it's a valid statement. But there's a lot that happens throughout the course of the year. Injuries, unexpected play, players emerging to be big-time playmakers, that it can change the trajectory of any said team in the AFC North.
Yeah, and that's the point of the draft, right? Is to draft guys who that can either make a difference right then and there for your roster within your starters, but to also make a difference for depth perspectives, because you don't know who can practically plug in or temporarily plug in and then become like a major starter and a major piece. I mean, we've seen it with Big Ben and Tommy Maddox. We've seen it, with other guys around down the road who, well, it's too many to name, but you get this point. I just felt like that alone was a little disrespectful towards the other teams, because what you're telling the other prospects who might just be drafted to these three teams that there's really nothing they could do to keep up with the Bengals, who we both just clarified, split with everyone in the division. But speaking of the AFC North division, I got to ask you, do you believe the Steelers can and will win the AFC North this season if everything goes right for them in the NFL draft?
I mean, I think they have a shot. A lot has to happen. Number one, our quarterback, Kenny Pickett, got to take a huge leap in year two. Huge leap, right? If you talk about winning this division, and if Lamar Jackson is back in the lineup, if he's happy because of his contract, even if he's disgruntled, just if he's in the lineup alone, makes things extremely dicey in the AFC North. But for us to win the division, Kenny Pickett has to be the best quarterback in the division. Or I won't say he has to be the best quarterback in our division for 17 weeks. I'll say he has to be the best quarterback in our division when we're playing division games.
Agree.
You know what I mean? Because for us to win the division, we gotta win our division games.
Period.
Right? And of course, and if we do that, based on how difficult our division can be, you have to like our chances playing against a non-division opponent. So Kenny Pickett has to be the best quarterback on the football field when we play against our teams in our division. I need to see consistency in regards to balance on the offensive side. Healthy. We got to be healthy. If we're not healthy, good luck in trying to do that.
Good luck.
I mean, injuries has really hurt us over the last few years, and we haven't had injuries just to regular players. We've had injuries to big time players, and it's
TJ Watt.
Yes, it's hard to get that same production when those guys are not on the football field. So this is what we need to do, what we need to see for us to win the division against divisional opponents. Kenny Pickett has to be the best quarterback on the football field, balanced offensively, and health, especially on the defensive side. Stay healthy.
Yeah. And defense, has to improve in stopping the run. I think our secondary played pretty solid last year. They gave up some chunk plays, but that was practically every secondary. But new defensive coordinator, new linebackers coach, who I'm kind of depressed, left to go to Minnesota, and Bryant Flores. But I think they're still in good hands with Terrell.
Terrell Austin.
Terrell Austin, yes.
Yep.
I didn't want to say his name wrong, but yes. Speaking of quarterbacks and speaking of Kenny Pickett, I got to ask this question. And I understand a lot of people who watch this podcast and listen to it might just get tired of me asking, but I need to know. I need to know from a player's perspective. Is Kenny Pickett the future for Pittsburgh? And how can fans adjust from the era of Roethlisberger to Pickett?
Yeah, I think he's the future. Heck, right now, there's no other choice but for him to be the future. And we need him to showcase that he is the future, because we don't want to be going through musical chairs at the quarterback position. Right. So yes, he is the future. He really developed throughout the year. He wasn't stagnant. He didn't stay in one position. He really grew towards the latter part of the season. So that's a bright sign moving forward. In regards to the Big Ben era, I mean, we should be okay now, having a full year removed from the 7 being in the lineup, to understanding and knowing that that era is done. So just add 1 and go root for number 8.
Yeah, I love Kenny. And I think like a lot of fans was just ready to write him off because they expected the pop that they got from Big Ben in 2004.
Yeah, but that team was different.
Yes,
that team was different.
Way
that
different.
Team in 2004, a year before I got drafted, they was experienced. They had a lot of savvy vets, a lot of guys that had a foundation in the National Football League. And when he came in, all they needed Big Ben to do was just manage it.
Exactly.
Jerome, Deuce.
Willie.
Deuce Staley was a beast that year. Plexico, Randall L., Hines, an established offensive line. Heck, Willie Parker wasn't even in the lineup like that then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he wasn't.
Defensively, Casey Hampton, James Ferrier, Foote, Higgins, Porter, Troy, Hope, Willie Williams, Shae, Ike. I mean, you got guys who are quite around. No, I got drafted the following year in 2005, but that 2004 year, Big Ben was a year before I was.
Yeah.
But that team was different compared to what Kenny Pickett walked into. You know what I mean? So you can't really compare those two players in regards to their rookie year, because Big Ben walked into a situation where the cupboard had all the spices in it. He just didn't need to burn the food. That's it.
Basically, yeah, you said it right. And Ben even admitted it on his podcast that the team he walked into ain't the team Kenny Pickett walked into.
Mhm.
Because you can definitely say that Ben was just practically playing plug in, or he, without question, was the final piece to this team missing to capture the grand prize, which was
Yeah.
the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Obviously, you had your good days with Tommy Maddox, but he wasn't it to push this team further enough. Ben was clearly the better option, even though Maddox did get hurt. So it
Mhm.
probably could have been a different scenario. Maybe if that injury didn't happen in Baltimore, but now you had some Ravens saying they regret hurting Maddox because of what they dealt with for 18 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
But we talk about your career in Pittsburgh. We talk about your teammates. You mentioned Troy, you mentioned Ben. So how would you rate your bonds with Ben, Troy, and guys like that from scale, let's just say 1 to 10?
I mean, we all had a close connection. Me personally, I think our team was extremely close. Now I hung out with more of the defensive guys in the secondary more than anything because we were always together. But man, our bond was extremely tight, and I think that's why we won so much. We were so successful because we actually had relationships off the football field. It wasn't just an on the field relationship. No, we actually rocked with each other. So any given time, you can see anybody hanging out together in Pittsburgh. But that's what we were built on. And we knew we needed to have that type of connection for us to be able to gel the right way on the football field. So you saw a scale of 1 to 10. I think it was 10. I mean, we still have a connection, even though we were retired and been away from the game for quite some time. We still communicate quite a bit with the majority of our guys that were a part of those teams I was on.
Yeah, you guys, it definitely looked like that on the outside looking in. And I'm
Mhm.
like, this was not only a brotherhood, but this was a brotherhood that without question would beat you up.
No question. Yes,
Tomlin said it
yes.
himself. And like he ranked his Steeler defenses. He put the 2008 Steeler defense, which in my opinion, since I've been born, was the best defense we saw. But
Mhm.
he put 2010 Steeler defense number one because he said that defense, he felt had a closer bond and they will beat you up. But I think like all defenses would have. But we
Yeah.
speak about the defense. We speak about this season. And we speak about signings as we touched on earlier. So, what I need to know, what are your thoughts on the Steelers signing both Patrick Peterson and trading for Allen Robinson this offseason?
Well, of course, I love the sign of Pat Pete because that's my cousin. So having
Wow.
another family member be a part of the Steeler organization, and he's wearing my number 20, what's not to love about that? Allen Robinson, I spoke on that earlier. I like it. He didn't really give up a lot, you know, swap picks in the 7th round, and they're eating more than half his salary. So, and he's a veteran. He's a savvy guy. So he's not coming into a role where we need him to be the 1 or 2. You telling me
Right.
Allen Robinson is our 3 with a young quarterback? Man, he just got to stay healthy. I think that's going to be a beneficial move for us as well. So I like both moves.
Yeah, I enjoy that. And I was actually shocked when the Steelers, because it's very rare that they trade for a player. The last
Mm-hmm.
player that they traded for was Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
And well, we all know how that played out. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
playing out pretty well for us.
Yeah.
Not so
Agreed.
well for Miami though. But it's it's this right here. We speak on the NFL draft. We spoke on the current players. So if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, or if you could pick who they would take with the 17th overall pick, with all the talk about Joey Porter Jr., all the talk about trading up for Christopher Gonzalez or Jalen Carter, all the talk about, the line, correct me, the offensive lineman from
Mm-hmm.
Florida,
Mm-hmm.
Osiris. Who would you think, or where do you think the Steelers should go first in the draft with the 17th overall pick? Who would you like to see in black and gold?
It depends on how the board falls. I think the 2 positions we definitely will target is offensive line, specifically speaking, the tackles or cornerback. Now, if one of those offensive linemen are still available, like Jones from Georgia, Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State, Skoranek, or even Wright from Tennessee, I think you take one of those guys. If all of those guys are gone, then you go cornerback. If Joey Porter is there, I don't think Washington allowed Joey to get past their pick at 16. But if he's there, you know, you got Deontay Banks from Maryland. So it's a pretty deep class of corners. But those are the two positions I think we definitely will hit on. And I think that will be the actual realistic move, you know, depending on the players that's on the board when it's our time to shine at 17.
Yeah, agree. And before I let you go, because obviously we on a timely basis, you and I both, you and Patrick Peterson does a podcast called All Things Covered Pod. What will be next coming for the podcast? Is there anything new that us fans need to know?
Well, heck, you're talking about Joey Porter. I'm trying to get him on, so hopefully we can get him on before the draft. That'll be dope. We've had Christian Gonzalez on as well. You know, a few other up-and-coming prospects we're working to get on. Probably after the draft will probably be Devon Witherspoon, another corner that could be around for Pittsburgh at 17. So those are up next. That's the main key. I'm trying to get Joey Porter Jr. on, which would be dope because he could be a Pittsburgh Steeler. But yeah, check us out. You know, we have a YouTube page as well, and you can find our podcast anywhere where podcasts can be found.
Yes. Well, Mr. McFadden, that's all I have for you. Unfortunately, I have to let you go. But you guys, please give this guy a follow on Twitter at BMac_Sports Talk. Give your host, May Shayla, a follow at ShayMacSports. This is your host, May Shayla, your special guest, Bryant McFadden, signing out. And this is BlitzHerz Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah.
Goes to the back of the end zone, and it is fires, intercepted, picked off at a pick six. Minka Fitzpatrick is an absolute ball hawk.
They can pick down here.
From the gun, Steelers show blitz. Here they come. He gets it away, and it's picked off at the goal.
Picked off Polamalu.
Pedal to the metal.